Hi everyone, welcome to Anchor Youth. Get keen, grab your Bibles if you haven't got them already because we're in for a really good night. If you're wondering who the heck are these people, well, I'm Fee.
I'm Nat.
And because it's just a ladies' night and we're keen for that, we want all the girls to comment on YouTube #NotTheBoys because we just want to get that trending. So all the girls out there watching, #NotTheBoys, we want to see it, make it happen and get keen.
Woohoo! Well, welcome everyone to our first pajama night. So what we'll be doing tonight in our talk is looking at the partial kingdom and the promises to Abraham are partially fulfilled. And we'll also be doing some fun pajama party related activities with Tom and Abby. So get really keen for that, guys. But before we get started, I'm just going to pray for us, okay? Lord, thank you for tonight. Thank you for the opportunity to meet together via Zoom. And please help us to be focused and dependent on your word, Lord. Amen.
Amen. Alright, so our first segment tonight, it's your favourite beg duo. We're going to kick on to begging for the news.
Oh no.
Oh no. Quick! Abby!
Oh, me too.
Oh my goodness. Oh, I didn't even know what the time is. Oh.
Hey guys, you know it is pajama night.
Oh.
Alright.
Okay. Okay. Alright. Let's do this. Hey everyone, welcome back. I'm Sam
And I'm Nick,
with Begs,
and this is Begging for the News.
live from the Beg Quarters.
So welcome to pajama night, everyone. As you can see, we're planned in our pajamas. We hope you guys are too.
Let's kick things off. We'll start with the latest on coronavirus news. So as I'm sure all of you guys know, school was back in full swing on Monday. Let us know in the comments, how was the first week back at school? In other news, on Monday, the 1st of June, pubs and restaurants and cafes will be open for 50 people. And I think even some like beauty parlors and aquariums and random things are opening back up as well. So there you go. Some more things to do with your free time.
And on the church news, we're actually stoked that people came over and watched youth together. That's sick. If you're watching youth with a friend right now, let us know. I want to see in the comments. I want to see you guys both peanutting in the chat right now, because that's good stuff. You know, I want you guys to all be thinking of people that you can invite over, you know, friends that come to youth, friends that don't come to youth, or even friends that you could just send the link to. I don't know.
Great opportunity.
The more the merrier.
For sure. Yeah, that's great. Well, we might check on our Instagram and see if any of you guys sent some memes for us for...
memes.
Looks like we managed to get 4 people, I think. So
Thank you.
shout out to those 4 who actually
We've
sent
doubled
memes.
our numbers.
This is amazing, honestly.
Thank you.
Thought it couldn't be done. Okay, what have we got? First one is from Emily Casperson.
Thanks, Em.
Yeah. says, Thea Luna, avoid Corona.
That's good
Love
stuff.
that.
You know, if anybody knows where Busby is,
Let us know.
hit me up. Good on them though.
Yes, absolutely. This next one is from Jock.
Thank you.
Yep.
Yeah, you know, did anybody plan to do nothing all day in 2020? Because I think you're the real winner here.
Yeah, honestly. This one is from Cassandra, I think.
Yeah.
She sent us this whole meme page of coronavirus memes.
Yeah.
So shout out for that.
We just went digging.
That's great. This one, I feel like this is very true. Like, I'm kind of scared to make any sort of...
Legit. My last week at uni, someone sneezed in the lecture and everyone just looked at him like this. It was like...
Not what you want. Yeah.
Bad time to have hay fever
Yeah,
or
I
any
reckon.
allergies.
Not good at all. And our final one is from Joel. Not exactly coronavirus related, but
But it's wholesome.
appreciate it. Look, it's got the Bible and Shrek. Like,
Yeah.
what better combo could you
Pretty
want?
good stuff.
Maybe try this in Bible studies. See
Yeah.
if you can flip
Give
to the
everyone
right-
one shot. Can they get straight to Exodus?
Give it a go. Cool, cool. Well, thanks guys for sending through those memes.
It's good stuff.
Send some through.
On our Anchor page, Instagram, hit
Tag
us up.
us. Hashtag
We
being
wanna
for the
see 'em.
news.
Yes.
Let's make that a thing.
Also, hashtag JustMuzz because it's gonna happen one day, whether you like it or not, Muzz. That's what the people want.
Well, I think it's time that we hand over to our special guest.
Yeah, special guest. You know, can we call him the weatherman, our interview man,
the
our amazing video editing man?
what can't
I
you
don't
do?
Thanks, guys. Speculation arose a couple of weeks ago when it was alleged Dan Bishop had 3 nipples. So it got us thinking, well, what don't we know about Dan? So I thought we'd try and find out a bit more. Here is what he had to say. Alright guys, I'm here with, what's your name?
I'm Dan.
Oh, this is Dan. Dan, what's your age?
My age is 28 years old.
Where did you grow up, Dan?
I grew up in the Sutherland Shire at Oyster Bay.
Oh, did you have a childhood nickname?
I did have a childhood nickname, Mini Bish.
Mini Bish. Get that trending. Alright, what's your favourite part about the Shire?
I think my favourite part is what we're driving past right now, is the Royal National Park. I love being close to the outdoors.
Who was your favourite artist growing up?
Different stages. I think the longest lasting one would have been Lecrae, which was a bit of Christian hip hop back in the day.
Alright, who are you married to?
I'm married to Shannon.
And who are your children?
We have 3 kids. Our eldest is Ezekiel, or Zeke. Then we have Jed and Abby.
Who's the favourite child?
Well, there is no favourite. There's never a favourite, because favouritism is forbidden in the Book of James. We love them equally but differently.
Do you have a favourite online youth segment?
Favourite online youth segment? Look, it'd have to be one of the news channels, but it's too hard to decide just yet. I'll have to wait for more content to come out to make a decision about which one.
In your opinion, does Dom get too close to the microphone?
Dom gets far too close to the microphone. That boy needs to step back.
In your opinion, does Eilish use a high-tech microphone to do ASMR, or is it just her?
It's just her. It's actually quite natural. I've seen it in person. She's great at ASMR. A real natural. I think we ought to get her to do some more.
And in your opinion, who's cuter, Millie or Targi?
See, that's very hard, but from maybe it's sheer volume of content, but I'm gonna have to go Targi.
Okay. And our last question, when will we see our first glimpse of Just Muzz?
Look, I'm hoping it's tomorrow, but that kind of production, it's so high quality that it takes time, so we'll just have to see. Keep laying on the pressure and we'll have to see what happens.
Murray, what do you think?
You'll have to wait and see.
Oh! Alright, thanks Dan.
Thank you.
Thanks Murray.
All good.
Yeah, well there you have it. That's Dan Bishop. And I believe we're getting some breaking news as we are live tonight. We are hearing Just Muzz. Just Muzz will appear in the coming weeks.
Jai, for that video.
Yes.
Definitely appreciate the variety that we're getting in the show. What are we going to get next time? No idea.
You tell
Stay
us.
tuned.
Yes, so that brings us to our next new segment, which is Leaders Throwback.
It's actually called Guess the Leaders.
Guess the leaders.
We have got a new mashup for you guys. It is this.
Wow.
So we've got, yeah. Are these pajamas? Can we say that these are pajamas? We'll have to
Yeah.
ask the person.
We got a cot in the
confirm.
background.
Yeah,
A fresh out of bed look.
could be. Alright, so let's see, whose head is this? We've got 4 options. First is it Tian? Is it Liv? Is it Sal? Or is it Abby? Comment in the chat,
We wanna
whose
see.
head is this?
Whose is it?
Yeah?
I
What
was
about-
pretty confused the first time I saw this photo.
Yes, Nick took a while to guess,
I
so no worries.
Will
if
you
you
be better
get
than
it
me?
straight away. And the background, who is this? Is it A, Jai?
Ooh.
Is it B, Lockie? Is it C, Dan Bishop?
Ooh.
Is it D, Daniel Murray? Let us know in the chat.
Yeah.
We're gonna give you a few seconds. Comment down below whose head
wanna
is
see.
this, whose body is this. Time is up. Drum roll, please. It is Abby and Lockie.
Ooh.
Did you guys get that? Congrats if you
Congratulations
did.
to anyone who
That
did.
was a hot one.
Can I see some peanuts in the chat for the winner? Congrats.
Yeah, good stuff. All right, well that brings us to our final segment for this week. It is of course,
Targi time.
and this week we've got a bit of a special Targi time.
Ooh.
Targi wanted to get in the action of pajama night, so we have a little compilation.
Just when you thought Targi couldn't get any cuter, she puts on PJs.
What can I say?
Unbelievable. Well, that's all for us on this fine evening. I hope you guys have enjoyed and will enjoy the rest of the night. There are some good things coming. Stay safe.
Alrighty. Oh, we're talking good. What a lovely segment that was. Thank you, Begs, for your wonderful update. We got a few interesting comments. Andy is sick of Targi. I think there's a bit of jealousness and built up resentment there. We saw a lot of hashtag not the boys. Not many boys supporting that hashtag, which we're all a little disappointed
Come on, guys,
by.
get on it.
We need allies. Where are they? A lot of Just Mars. I'm so excited for that one. I hope next week is when we see that. And this Eilish and Dom ASMR collab, I'm very intrigued by. I wonder when we might see that. Alrighty.
Lots of goodies in store. Well, we're going to head over to Jerome the Gnome. So remember, we have to guess where he's chilling and what he's doing. And the first person to guess in the comments is the lucky winner. All the glory goes to them. So let's kick on.
All right, remember to comment.
Alright, what have we got here? We got Brazil, Waters House, Greece. Well, who
Ooh.
even knows? Like, we just don't know. But the winner's going to be revealed later on, so get keen for that.
Alrighty, so now we are going to head over and see Tom and Abby, who have some pajama party activities for us to participate in. So remember, hashtag not the boys in the chat, some pajamas in the chat.
Get
and,
amongst it.
Yeah, love it. Alright, let's get going.
Hey guys, we're Tom and Abby. We lead Year 11, and for this segment, for pajama night, we're going to be making a fort.
A fort.
Woohoo! So what we're using in our little space is some tent poles.
These ones, if you have them.
Exact ones will be perfect. We're going to use some big blankets and a fitted sheet that doesn't really fit anymore because it's so stretched. So kind of like a flat sheet.
The more blankets, the better.
Yep. So if you want to make a fort, get your things together, get your 5 pals that are allowed inside, and get forting.
So we've taped each edge of the structure to something strong. I think we're both kind of surprised that it works. And we've just done a bit of tape in the middle, can't really see, to hold it all together. So we've got our structure together. Now, what's next, Abby?
Next is the blankets.
Blankets.
We're just getting some pegs.
The pajama fort.
Hi MTV, welcome to my crib. I call it the Pajama Night Fort. Come with me. Just go through the secret passageway. And if you're lucky enough, like me, in your Pajama Night Fort, you'll have a rabbit and a husband. We've got our dome lighting up the top, fancy chandelier, lovely walls, and they're very to escape.
Bye,
Bye. Hooray! Pajama night!
What? Go. Alright. Wait, are we live? Oh.
Awesome. Look at our fort, guys. Do you like it?
It's beautiful. This took me 20 minutes to make it work and I almost cried. But it's okay.
And it fits 2 people. So
Woohoo!
didn't find a husband or a bunny in there, but you know, that's
Not
alright.
yet. I liked the comments. There was a lot of people wondering if this is what Fortnite looks like. Loved your creativity there, Tom and Abby. Alrighty.
Well, I think we have our winner for Jerome. There was lots of good guesses. People thinking Great Wall of China, but who actually got it? It was Ezra. And so Ezra gets all the glory. Hashtag go Ez, because let's support our winners here. All right, and now we're going to transition to some DIY with the Dom. We're going to do some gardening. So-
Gardening with my mate Dominic. Let's see.
Hello Anchor Youth, welcome to DIY Gardening. A little bit of a note at the start. I have 0 gardening skills, so if I can do this, any of you definitely can. Today we're going to be making your own chia pet. So what you need is some chia seeds that have been left in overnight in water, so they're nice and luggy. You need some end of an old stocking or a new one if you don't have any stockings and you had to buy some like me. Dirt. Or potting soil, as it's also known. A cup to sit up your chia pet in, some rubber bands for decorating, and a Sharpie for decorating as well. So what we're going to do to start with, we'll grab our stocking and just hook it over our cup and put some chia seeds in it. Oh, they're so thick. I have no idea what is the correct number of chia seeds. I just soaked heaps because I didn't know how many you meant to put in. So I'm just going to put in heaps and hopefully it will just kind of grow quicker. These you can find in Coles or Woolies or my mum's cupboard, as it turns out. Okay, that looks like probably too many, but we'll find out. By the way, we'll find this out in like a week because it takes a while to grow. So we're going to keep this going. Then put some potting mix into your stocking. These cups are all bigger than they look. You can actually fit like quite a lot in, if you guys were wondering. Alright, I think that's probably good. We'll find out. Then we'll just unhook this. Let's push it all down to the bottom. And you want your kind of sack of chia to be bigger than the top of your cup to kind of sit over the top. So maybe we'll put the rest of this potting mix in, make it a little bit bigger. Oh. Probably do this outside, unlike me. Your parents may not appreciate you getting dirt all over their table. It's a bit gross, isn't it? Cut back, cup. This will be really wet when you do it. I'm learning. Alright, then we're going to tie a knot in the end. Okay, perfect. So it's nice and gooey. Right, I'm going to pop that to the side in our spare cup. Then to make this look nice and pretty, we're going to decorate our cup. So I'll be back with you in 1 second. So now that your plastic cup is nice and decorated, we're going to sit our chia pet in it. Take the bottom, sit it over the top like that. Bear in mind, you can probably go a bit bigger with your chia pet in terms of your number of seeds and soil. I went a bit conservative, but once it's all wet, it does kind of rub together a bit. Perfect. Now I'm going to grab our rubber bands and just give it a bit of character. So we might give it some ears, make it look like a animal, little bear ears maybe. If you want, feel free to decorate with googly eyes and things. There weren't any at Coles, so we're not going to do that, but you're welcome to at home. Give it another ear on this side. Oh, it's looking good. Maybe give it a nose at the front. Yeah, definitely wash your hands after this, by the way. Gardening's a bit yucky. Probably not the best indoor activity. Nose. That's alright. Alright. Now we have a chia pet. So then just water it every day, I think. With a spray bottle, maybe. And see it grow some hair from the chia seeds. Until next time. There's no next time. I hope. Last one.
Wow, thanks for that, Nat's mate. That was quality content. Great filming, Nat, I have to say.
Thank you.
You really
I had
to it.
cover my mouth the whole time just so you couldn't hear the breathing because I know how picky everyone gets.
But was loving the comments there. Lots of step up Dom, and Dom already has stockings at home. Like, what do you think, guys? And the cup transformation, I really have to say, that's a good artist right there.
There's a few worrying comments though. I'm worried some people have ingested some chia mixed with soil. Please go see a GP right now. I repeat, please go see a GP right now. Alrighty, what's next? I think now we're going to go back to Tom and Abby, who are going to show us how to make a delicious slumber party treat. Alright.
Hey guys, now that we've got our fort all set up and our pyjama party's gone off the hook, it's time to make Mr. Whittaker's mean old hot chocolate off the grand recipe itself. So here we go, the first step, you're going to take a pan, set it up on the heat and just a lump of butter in the frying pan. Bob's your uncle. Let that one fizz away. While that's happening, you need a scoop brown sugar. Tablespoon, not a tablespoon measurement, an actual tablespoon.
That's a soup spoon.
Give that a little whirl. Need to let that heat up a little bit. A little bit of cinnamon. Alright, we're just going to leave that to heat up. Preheat your oven to 170 degrees. Perfect. Now, the next thing we got to start doing is what, Abby?
Melt the chocolate. So first we need a glass bowl, like so. And then all you want to do is open up we like to use in the Whittaker household crunchy chocolate because it really accentuates the cinnamon and brown sugar taste from the pan. So what we do is break this bad boy up. Doesn't really matter the size chunks that you do because it's just going to melt anyway. And we want the whole block because in this house we like things spicy and chocolatey. And if there's one thing I know what to do. Alright, so once we got that, what we want to do is get a saucepan. Oh geez, fill her up with a little bit of water. And
You can probably take the other one off the heat now if you like.
yeah, we'll take that
Just
one.
put that one on the side for later.
Alright, so while your little mixture here is just sitting aside, what we do now is just do the old saucepan sispan trick where you just chuck it on, and it's really important you use a soup spoon for this. And you just wait for it to melt.
Alright guys, now that Abby's got the chocolate on, we're going to get to the next step. We're going to continue preparing our lovely
Hot chocolate.
hot chocolate special caramel sauce. Now, the first thing we got to do is dice the marshmallows. Like, you got to be sure that they're marshmallows and not tomatoes. Otherwise you'll be in trouble. These ones are pretty small, so you don't have to cut them that much. Just gotta, yep, just like that. That'll probably do. Now, we're gonna whack all this back into the pan. And you gotta chuck in a few extra ingredients.
If you can open them.
Yep, so this one's rose water. Yep, just a dash, otherwise Mum will get cross. We're going to add in some V essence, some vanilla extract, imitation vanilla, just a tad. We're going to whack in little. This one's optional. You don't have to go for the sultanas, but Abby likes the sultanas, so just whack a couple of those in. And then finally a bit of cocoa, 100% delicious.
Just a dusting.
Just a dusting. Oh, and some sprinkles, of course. Right. Now you just need to
Turn it back on.
put the heat back on that one. Put a lid on top if you have one. Shake. Yep. And leave that for about 15, 18 minutes. And we'll see you back in a sec.
Alright, so we've just been melting the chocolate, and this one's still going down here, the little caramelization crock pot, if you want to call it that. So if you just follow me down here, so the chocolate's melted now. Sometimes it bubbles, but that's okay if it happens. But yeah, it should be a nice liquidy consistency once it's melted. Normally the crunchy bits melt to the bottom as well, so don't worry if you can't see them. The next step is just to chuck it all in the oven for, I don't know, would you say that's 6 to 12 minutes or something?
6 to 12.
Yeah,
12 to
170
6.
degrees. Yeah, so we'll just chuck this straight there. And just make sure that maybe you get Mum or Dad to help you, or make sure that you have a tea towel with you as well. So that's in there now. We just turned it off a little bit so it could cool down because it went a bit too high. So yeah, we just leave that in there for about 6 to 12 minutes and you're good as gold.
Okay, so our ingredients have been in there for about 8 minutes. It should have started to bring itself together, so let's see what we got. Oh, perfect. He's done it again. That is our famous hot chocolate. If you followed all the steps correctly, this is what you should have ended up with.
How's it taste?
Wow, that was interesting. Yeah, we're just making ours.
How many marshmallows do you like?
I don't know, just whatever. I think maybe like some chips as well. I was really getting that vibe from the video. Like, I think it would be really nice.
We didn't have sultanas, so we have to substitute with real grapes.
Here we go.
But ours is kind of a pre one.
Yeah, and just shove it in, you know, get the crack going.
A little bit of a crunch for the mouthfeel.
Oh, yep, here we go. Beautiful.
Cheers.
And there's that. We love that segment. Lots of people commenting. What were your favourite comments? Nat, did you have any?
My favourite comments were probably Mia saying you lost me at the Sultana. That was, I felt very similar. I think I was lost before then. And others people wondering where does the stocking come into it. I didn't see where they used the stocking, so I was a bit lost with that one too.
Yeah.
What did you think?
I liked the chia pets coming into it too, like, and Dad's being tea towels. I don't know what that's about, but I like it. We're gonna go to our Bible reading and talk now. So if you haven't grabbed your Bibles yet, quickly go get them. And Eilish is gonna read the Bible for us.
Hi everyone, Eilish here. Today we're going to be reading Exodus chapter 19 verses 1 to 6. On the first day of the 3rd month after the Israelites left Egypt, on that very day they came to the desert of Sinai. After they set out from Rephidim, they entered the desert of Sinai, and Israel camped there in the desert in front of the mountain. Then Moses went up to God, and the Lord called to him from the mountain and said, "This is what you are to say to the descendants of Jacob, and what you are to tell the people of Israel. You yourselves have seen what I did to Egypt, and how I carried you on eagle's wings and brought you to myself. Now if you obey me fully and keep my covenant, then out of all the nations you will be my treasured possession. Although the whole earth is mine, you will be for me a kingdom of priests and a holy nation. These are the words you are to speak to the Israelites."
Hey everyone, my name's Dom if we haven't met, and tonight I'm going to be bringing you our talk from God's Word. Throughout this term we've been looking at a big picture overview of the story of the Bible, God's big story. Now the story of God and his kingdom, so far this term we've heard from John about how God created the world and created mankind to rule over it. Then Muzz explained to us how humans were unable to follow the rules that God had set for them and ruined the perfect relationship between God and creation. And last week, Matt spoke to us about the promises God made to his people for the future of his kingdom. Now this week, we're going to see if God has kept those promises and if they've been fulfilled. The promises of offspring, land, and blessing. Now this week, we're starting off in the book of Exodus. It's the second book of the Bible with a guy called Moses. I'm sure many of you have heard of Moses before and know some of the stories about him. He was one of the key players in the Old Testament of the Bible. God did many amazing things through Moses, like what we're looking at tonight. Now, this passage of the Bible takes place a few hundred years after Abraham. Moses and the people of Israel had been living in Egypt as slaves for generations, and God had just rescued them out of Egypt and out of slavery. The first thing to notice from this story is that God is still the Lord over his people, despite their disobedience to him. If we can remember back to a few weeks ago, God created the world and created Adam and Eve to rule over it. But Adam and Eve broke the one rule that God had given them, and they ruined the perfect relationship between God and his people. From then on, every single person born sinned. They disobeyed God. Despite that perfect relationship being ruined, we can see that God is still looking out for his people, although there's some differences because the relationship is no longer perfect like it should have been. We see these differences in the way that God now talks to his people. God's no longer able to speak directly to them the way that he spoke to Adam and Eve. Instead, we see that Moses had to prepare the people for God coming to speak to them. They had to wash their clothes, and they could not touch the foot of the mountain where God would be because they were too sinful to be in his presence. Even though the Israelites were so sinful that they cannot be in the direct presence of God and could not talk to him directly, God still loves them and cares for them, and he has not given up on them. They are still his people. God is still holding up his end of the covenant that he made with Abraham. So has God fulfilled the promises he made to Abraham? Those promises of offspring, land, and blessing? Let's see. Let's start with offspring. God promised Abraham that he would have descendants that would outnumber the stars in the sky. Well, here in Exodus, we have Moses and the Israelites. And the Israelites were in fact the descendants or children of Abraham. And the Israelites were now not just one or two generations, but a nation. They may not yet outnumber the stars in the sky, but Israel is a growing nation. And this came from a man who did not have his first child until his 90s. The promise of offspring is being fulfilled. Well, what about the promise of land? Where did this event take place and how did the Israelites get there? In chapter 19 of Exodus opens up with, in the 3rd month after the Israelites left Egypt, on the very day they came to the desert of Sinai. So the Israelites are in the desert of Sinai, but where were they before this? They were in Egypt. The desert certainly isn't a promised land material, but this is significant because in the promise God made to Abraham, he told Abraham that his descendants would be slaves in a country that is not their own for 400 years. But then God promised to rescue them out of their slavery and deliver his promise of a land to Abraham's descendants. Here we are at the point where God has rescued Israel from slavery in Egypt, and they are on their way towards the land God promised. The second promise God made to Abraham is in the works. It's becoming fulfilled. But what about the promise of blessing? Well, blessing is much harder to measure. How can we say if the Israelites or any other nation were blessed? Let's take a look at what God gives to his people in chapter 20. God gives his people a new law, the 10 Commandments. You might be thinking, what? Rules? That doesn't sound like much of a blessing to me. Back when God created mankind, there was only one rule, and now there's 10 of them? What happened? Well, the short answer is sin happened. Adam and Eve weren't able to follow the one rule that God gave them. And every single person since has not lived perfectly how God intended it to be. So God gives to Israel the commandments to live by. But these rules are not just to benefit God. They're to benefit God and all of humanity. As God delivered the commandments to Moses, he said, I am the Lord your God, who brought you out of Egypt, out of the land of slavery. He reminds Moses who he is. He is God, the Creator, who knows what's best for his people. And he is God who made promises to Abraham and is fulfilling them as he speaks. This may seem strange, but the law helps to fulfill the promises God made to Abraham. Because he is the Lord and Creator, he knows what is best for his people. And what is best is to live the way that God has outlined here in the commandments. Obeying the law of the 10 Commandments brings blessing. God is the creator of the world and of people. He knows what is best for his creation. And here he tells them, this is the best way to live. After delivering the 10 Commandments, God says to Moses, wherever I cause my name to be honored, I will come to you and bless you. Here we see God fulfilling that other promise he made to Abraham, the promise of blessing. Let's take a quick look at the laws themselves. The 10 Commandments can be divided into two main halves. The first half of the commands outline how to relate to God. The Israelites are to have only one God, who is the Lord. They shall have no other gods, and they should honour and respect him. The second half of the laws outlined how to relate to other people who are part of God's creation. Not to murder, commit adultery, steal, lie, or envy. Following these laws paints a picture that resembles the perfect world that God originally created. The way he knew was the best way to live. So is this the end fulfillment of God's promises to Abraham? Is this the perfect picture he painted of when his promises would be fulfilled? Well, the nation of Israel is growing, but not yet outnumbering the stars. And they're out of slavery in Egypt, but not yet in the promised land. And God has given the law that will bring blessing, but as I'm sure you can guess, the people were not able to follow it perfectly. There's still a bit to go until the complete fulfillment of God's promises. As it stands, they are only partially fulfilled. But to have a look at what's still to come for God's kingdom, we're going to jump forward in the Bible another few hundred years to the book of 2 Samuel. Here we meet King David, the greatest king in the history of Israel. David lives in the land of Canaan. That's the land that God promised to Abraham. And straight away we can tell that the promise of land is looking good. As for the offspring, well, the kingdom of Israel has continued to grow. They are a much bigger nation than in the time of Moses. And for the blessings, well, Israel's been doing great. They're in a prosperous nation. They are living the good life in a land filled with milk and honey. Here in 2 Samuel, we're given a picture of David. He's set up in his palace as a king does, and David looks around at his mighty kingdom and he sees that everything's looking pretty great. But then he realizes that he is living in a fancy palace of cedar, but where God is set to dwell, well, it's in a tent. The same tent that it has been since Moses, hundreds of years prior. So David starts planning to build a house for God. But God speaks to David through a prophet named Nathan. And he says to David, I have always lived with the Israelites, moving from place to place, living in a tent. Did I ever say to any of the rulers, why have you not built me a house of cedar? God had never asked for a house or building to be built for him to dwell in. And for good reason. This is not God's permanent place. He has bigger plans. David may have been looking around and thought that God had fulfilled his covenant with Abraham, that all the promises has been completed. But this is not God's final plan. God's kingdom is still not completed. There is more to come. And we hear about that in this next Bible reading.
All right, guys, so we're reading 2 Samuel chapter 7 from the second half of verse 11 to verse 16. I will also give you rest from all your enemies. The Lord declares to you that the Lord himself will establish a house for you. When your days are over and you rest with your ancestors, I will raise up your offspring to succeed you, your own flesh and blood, and I will establish his kingdom. He is the one who will build a house for my name, and I will establish the throne of his kingdom forever. I will be his father, and he will be my son. When he does wrong, I will punish him with a rod wielded by men, with floggings inflicted by human hands. But my love will never be taken away from him, as I took it away from Saul, whom I removed from before you. Your house and your kingdom will endure forever before me. Your throne will be established forever.
God gives David some insight into his plans. God says in chapter 7, verse 12, I will raise up your offspring to succeed you, who will come from your own body, and I will establish his kingdom. He is the one who will build a house for my name, and I will establish the throne of his kingdom forever. I will be his father, and he shall be my son. This is the picture of a permanent kingdom. This is what God is working towards, a kingdom that is everlasting, with a king who will rule forever. David may have thought that he had it pretty good in the picture we're giving in 2 Samuel, but God's plan is so much better than that. Israel may have been a mighty nation in the time of David, but God still promised a nation that would outnumber the stars in the sky. The land of Canaan may have been a beautiful and prosperous land, but like all earth, will eventually rot and decay. God had plans for a land that would be perfect forever and never fade away. And the nation of Israel may have been blessed and living the good life, but they were still sinful people, and all was not perfect. God had a plan for the people to be blessed eternally with no sin or pain. Every way in which God had fulfilled his promises to Abraham, there is still only the partial completion. It all gets better in Jesus, and that's what we're going to see in the weeks to come.
It's just so much bigger and better than what we could ever imagine, and it was so much bigger and better than what David imagined back in 2 Samuel, that he thought he had it really good and everything was going fine, but what God has in store for us is just way more than that. What did you think?
Yeah, I really love that. Yeah, despite God's people being unfaithful to him, he continues to work out his promises, and see those promises are everlasting, and he's going to establish that king forever, which is pretty cool to see.
So now we'll be going off into our Zoom discussion groups. There should be something down below in the comments about getting that link, or if you need to ask your leader. That's about it for that. So we'll be looking forward to see you in our discussion groups. And
if you're not a part of Anchor Sundays at 4:30, we would love to have you along to those. And if you want more information on what it's about and how you get the link and everything, just ask your leader, because we'd love to see more faces there. But that's all from us tonight. Thanks for pajama partying with us.
Thanks for joining us for Girls' Night.
Yeah, it was so much fun. We loved it. And we'll see you next time.
Bye.